Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Murk back here with some more Draft League content, and this is going to be MPL Playoffs quarterfinals. Yeah. And we're going to be taking on someone that we took on pretty recently, Nick, or Reckless Bat, coach of the Texas Tyrantrums. Now, Nick is a pretty tough competitor, however, he is coming in as the 4th seed, while we are coming in as the 1st seed in our conference, which I think is the Sun. It might be the Moon, I don't know, it doesn't matter to me, but last game against Nick, we won, I believe, 4-0. The team that I brought was something along the lines of Banded Coco, Scarf Staraptor, Life Orb, Roserade, Life Orb, Breloom, not Kebia? No. Was it Kebia? No. It was, the Ghostberry, Metagross, and with Stealth Rock, and a Swords Dance, pretty physically defensive Gliscor. And he lost pretty hard to Gliscor. It really beat up his team, so I was definitely expecting him to prepare a team that would do better against it, so I definitely expected to see the Azumarill this time. Things packing more ice coverage definitely was something on my mind when I was prepping, so I didn't center Gliscor as being one of the main aspects of my team, just made it more of a supportive mon on this one. And the team he brought last time was very different than what he brought this time. The only two similarities were Necrozma and Haxorus. Last time he brought a Choice Scarf Necrozma, a Choice Scarf Haxorus. He brought a non-Assault Vest Delmise. He brought what else did he bring? He brought he brought Meloetta, he brought Gastrodon, and he brought a defensive Super Fang Crobat without Taunt. So I kind of thought Crobat was going to come since it still had a pretty good matchup against my team. I thought he'd bring Super Fang Taunt like Roost Bravebird, because that would do very well against my team. That's certainly what I would bring in this matchup. Or some sort of offensive setter like Scarfed or Electric Berry, so that Walken, so he could like lure in my Coco. You know, or something like that. But the team he ended up bringing was Infernape, Azumarill, Bisharp, Haxorus, Necrozma, and Silvally, so it definitely looks a lot more offensive. His only two Stealth Rockers are Infernape and Necrozma. I definitely expected Necroz to be his rocker, because like a Scarf Infernape or a Life Orb Infernape would do a lot of damage against my team. His Z move users on his roster are Azumarill and Silvally, so he has them both. I'm more expecting like a Z Belly Drum Azumarill over like Z Parting Shot Silvally, but if he does that, and that wouldn't surprise me either, I'm really expecting the Azu to be Belly Drum. That's the biggest threat to my team, since I have very little for it if it sets up, so I had to focus on not allowing it to set up. Bisharp I'm not very afraid of, because I have Gliscor, which hard counters it. Infernape could be very scary, but I have a lot that checks it. I should go over my team first. So I've got Max Speed, Max Special Attack, Coco with T-Bolt, Dazzling Gleam, Grass Knot, and U-Turn holding the Grassing Z. Because he had a Gastrodon, I wanted to just be able to one-shot that thing so that my Salazzle had a better matchup in the game. Really good threat against his team. Since he didn't bring Crobat, it outspeeds everything that isn't a Scarfer. More or less expecting either Scarf Infernape or Scarf Haxorus. Probably don't expect him to bring Double Scarf again, but I definitely think he will bring some sort of Scarfer, because Coco's too big of a threat for him not to be able to outspeed and just give up free Volt Switches or U-turns too. Gliscor is physically defensive, just max with Stealth Rock, so that I could take on any form of Bisharp. I can take hits from Haxorus pretty well. I can take hits from like physical Bandit or Scarf Infernape and that sort of thing, and just getting up rocks and U-turning out was the main thing I wanted to do, because rocks are very useful because I'm bringing a very offensive team. Next, I have Choice Banded Dugtrio, and Banded Dugtrio is a fantastic matchup because he didn't bring any of his ground checks unless he's running like a Grass Silvally, because he didn't bring Crobat or Delmise, the two things which would chew up an Earthquake. So I've got Banded Earthquake, and then I have, I believe, Sucker Punch and Night Slash to be able to hit stuff, and then I forget if my last move was Memento or Stone Edge, but it was one of those two. Banded Dougie's super nice against his team. It can pick off a Haxorus, it can pick off, well, anything aside from Azu or Bisharp. If I was sub, I could pick off Bisharp because I could avoid Sucker Punch, but yeah. I like the power that Banded provided, since, for example, after rocks, it's like an 80% chance to just Boko Haxorus. It does a ton of damage to the Necrozma, and if you brought a bulkier team, it did like 50% or more to his walls, which is very, very enticing. Next we have a Pasho Berry Nasty Plot Salazzle with Fire Blast, Sludge Wave, and HP Grass for his Gastrodon, which he didn't bring, so it doesn't matter. So all I need in this game is Fire Blast and Sludge Wave, and if you look at his team, that hits his team very, very hard. He has no resist to that unless he has, well, I don't think there's any type of Silvally that can resist all three of my moves. I don't think, yeah. And it's very nice because it outspeeds threats like the Infernape, the Bisharp, the Haxorus, Silvally. It outspeeds everything, and it can do a lot of damage to them aside from very specially bulky Haxorus or Necrozma or Silvally. And with the Pasho Berry, I can take, after 2 Stealth Rock switch-ins, I can take a hit if he's a Belly Drum Azumarill that he hasn't set up yet, or if he's banded, I can take an Aqua Jet after 1 round of rocks. So I'm assuming he's going to be Belly Drum, so I can be a little more reckless, but if he does show early on that he's banded, then I can hopefully catch him off guard with that, since I guarantee live a banded one after 1 round of Stealth Rocks. And overall, Salazzle's a very big threat to his team, since he just doesn't have a good switch into it, aside from one of those really fat things on his team. Then we've got Breloom. Breloom's got a great matchup against his team, because late game priority is super good against him. So we've got Spore, Mach Punch, Bullet Seed, Rock Tomb. I brought the exact same set, except I changed Swords Dance to Spore, because I felt that could be a tiny bit more useful, but I probably was never going to click it. The main thing that Breloom's going to do is check Belly Drum Azumarill, so as long as Azu is in the back, my Breloom will stay in the back, because I can take a +6 Aqua Jet after rocks, and that's incredible. It's the only thing on my team that can take a hit from Azumarill and kill it back, so I have to keep that in the back, as long as his Azumarill does not reveal that it is, if he's playing it around like it's Belly Drum, or if he's just keeping it in the back, I will not bring my Breloom out. If he shows early on that he's like Bandit or Assault Vest or something, then I can throw my Breloom around a little more recklessly, but this is my one thing to stop it if he gets the Belly Drum up. And looking at it late game, his team is super weak to Mach Punch. Haxorus takes 50%, Bisharp dies, Infernape takes a ton, depending on Silvally it takes a ton, and then Bullet Seed can do a large chunk to the Necrozma, and unless he's offensive, I can outspeed and Spore it, so that's all great. And I had max speed on it, so that after a Rock Tomb I would outspeed his Crobat, and also just in case I wanted to speed tie with like a Bisharp that was spamming Sucker Punch, so I didn't have to take extra damage, or something like that. But it was mainly there to just get the Crobat. And lastly, we've got a very similar to Raptor set. I'm bringing Scarf yet again because that's a great matchup against his team. Bravebird, U-turn, Close Combat, and Return. Decided that Double Edge wasn't necessary since, for the most part, well, especially in this matchup, he did not bring a Flying Resist outside of Bisharp. So I can just pretty easily spam Bravebird, and if his team's more weakened, I can spam Return and not get the recoil. But Bravebird's the main move that I'm going to go for. Close Combat, so I can just kill that Bisharp if he decides to make that play. And U-turn is great for momentum, and unless he brings Scarf Nape, I outspeed his whole team. It gives me a great check to Scarfed Haxorus, or to either Scarfed or Dragon Dance Haxorus, because I can outspeed it, get a big hit off with Return or Bravebird, and then which puts in range of a Mach Punch for my Breloom. Or I think Bravebird puts in range of Dougie's Sucker Punch, so that's something to consider. And yeah, that's the team. And the team that he brought, so I talked about Infernape, could be a very big threat to my team. Azumarill, I'm most likely expecting Z Belly Drum. That's the biggest problem to my team. If he's banded, like, it kills something every time it comes in, but he doesn't have a lot of mons that it can really come in against because it dies to Salaz. It really doesn't want to take a hit from Staraptor. It doesn't want to come in on the Dougie. It's not going to hard switch into it because Earthquake's doing a million, but it can revenge me. It can come in on the Gliscor, and it definitely cannot come in on Coco, and with my Pasho, it can't deal with Salazzle unless I've taken 3 rounds of rocks. Haxorus, I honestly expected it to be Scarfed again, and if not that, then Dragon Dance. There's no reason he'd bring something like Swords Dance, and if he did bring Swords Dance, then that's fine, because then my whole team outspeeds it, really, aside from Gliscor, because I have Mach Punch on Loom, which essentially means I outspeed it. Bisharp, not scared of it all, because I have Gliscor and Breloom, both of which, in tandem, those two really beat it, and Tapu Koko is another good check to it. I have no idea what Silvally is going to do, so I'm just going to have to see. And Necrozma could be a big threat if it's like If he brought the Calm Mind Iron Defense Rest Stored Power set, I'm in a lot of trouble, but I just have to play around that very, very well and prevent it from ever getting the chance to set up. I suppose I probably overlooked that in my prep even, but we don't need to know that. So, obviously, by the way I'm talking about it, he did not bring that set. So, let's go ahead and get into it, and to no one's surprise, I'm just going to lead off with my Tapu Koko. He does not have a ground type unless it's Silvally Ground, in which case I can just nuke it with a Bloom Doom, which is coming off Grass Knot, so it's 160 base power. And unless he's Scarfed, and depending on what he led, told me a lot about his team, so he's going to lead off with Infernape, and this tells me he's either Choice Scarfed, or he is Focus Sash, and he's going to click Rocks right here. Now, I did not want to risk him being Scarfed and killing me with a Gunk Shot or an Earthquake, so I'm going to Hard Switch him to my Gliscor, because it covered every option. If he went for Rocks, that's fine, we can trade Rocks unless he taunts me here, and that's all I really want Gliscor for. And he's going to lay up his Rock, showing me that this is his lead, and that it puts up in the air what kind of set his Necrozma is going to be, so that's definitely interesting, but I figured he could have HP Ice, but I kind of thought he might not, so he's just going to go right for the Stealth Rock here. As he goes for the Overheat, now that does a chunk, but because of my Poison Heal and the special attack drop, I will be out of range of an Overheat, and I will be able to take this next hit and Roost on up, so that's really good. It's going to do a lot still and put me in red, but I have my Roost, which will put me well above half with Poison Heal as well, so Gliscor is back to a pretty good amount of health, to the point where I can take like some Dragon Claws or whatever from Haxorus, which is fine. And I can take any hit from the Bisharp at this point, or Bisharp, yeah, that tasted bad. So I'm going to go for the U-turn right here, as he goes for the close combat. I kind of thought he'd switch out, since he wouldn't want my Gliscor to get much traction on his team, but he's just going to CC, and what I'm going to be able to do is go for the U-turn and break its Sash. Now, the reason I didn't go for the Earthquake right here is because if he's a lead Sash Nape, it's probably going to have Endeavor, and I don't want my Gliscor getting knocked down to 1, because that would just... If I kill Infernape with my Gliscor, he can just go into Azu, and that puts him a serious pressure against my team that I don't want to have this early, since it would force me to sack Loom, essentially, to kill it. So I definitely had to make plays that would prevent the Azumarill from coming in at any point until the game was pretty much over. So I'm going to go into Salazzle and click Sludge Wave right here, which does absolutely nothing to the Silvally, showing his Assault Vest, and I don't have a good switch into Silvally since I don't have like Bulky Koko or anything, so I'm kind of forced to just leave my Salaz in to take this hit. Now he's going to get a freeze here. We were actually recreating at this point. In the original game, he crit me and left me on like 18. However, Salazzle does not care, and we're just going to be able to go for the Fire Blast and do a big chunk to this Silvally. We'll put it into range where it's going to die from hits, which is good, so now that it's no longer a check to my Koko or anything of the sort. And what I can do now is just go out into my Tapu Koko and click Dazzling Gleam and knock this thing out. I want to click Dazzling Gleam just in case he was feeling absolutely wild and go into like Haxorus or something like that, but I also want to make him think maybe I'm Choice Scarf, so that I could, if he went into something that was weak to Thunderbolt, then, or if he tried to like set up on Azu with Azu right here, then I could just get him. But he's going to go into Infernape, and I ran a quick calc. If he's naive, he's guaranteed to die to this Thunderbolt, and if he's timid or hasty, then he's still in range. But I'm just going to go for it, and we're going to knock him out. Turns out after the game he was naive, so it was not a roll or anything. And down it goes. So we are up 6-4 right now, which is very good, but he's definitely not out of this game at all. So he's going to go into Bish, or I'm at 5-4, and I'm going to go for the U-turn right here. Now, I considered that he could be Scarfed, but I really didn't think he would be, and if he went for the Iron Head, it couldn't kill me anyhow, and I was willing to make that risk just in case he doubled out, and I do have my Gliscor right here, which can just kind of take any hit. And he's going to fire off the Iron Head, and showing that he is, like, not Adamant Max. Turned out that he was Adamant with some investment after the game, and he was Assault Vested. But what I can do here is just go right for the Roost, I believe. Or no, I'm going to go for the Earthquake right here, just in case he pulled some wild play, like going for Taunt or something. Just being like an absolute madman. So I'm going to be able to go for the EQ and hit this Necrozma and do absolutely zero, showing that this thing is just about max defense. And this thing is kind of a problem to the team, because my only good special attacker now is my Tapu Koko, and I'm going to U-turn and go right out into my Koko, not realizing that I only have one turn of terrain left, and that's not great. So Koko can do 50% to this thing, which is all I need it to do, so I can put in range of Dugtrio's Banded EQ. However, he's going to go for the Psychic, which is going to do a chunk, and once my terrain ran out, I was like, oh crap, did I just choke this away? I ran a quick calc, and it showed that I was out of range of Stealth Rocks, which is great. So that means what I'm going to do now is go ahead and sack off my Gliscor. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow me to chip away at this Necrozma a little bit, so that then I can go into my Koko, sack it off for Thunderbolt damage, which will in turn put in range of a Banded Earthquake from Dougie, in which then I can knock out the Necrozma. So a little sloppy play on my part. I guess stalling out my own terrain would have been the smarter play if I was paying more attention. But I'm going to go for the Quake now. It does nothing, and he's going to knock me out with the Psychic. And what I can do after this is just go into my Tapu Koko and click Thunderbolt. I really don't think that switching out would be his play right here, because if I was Agility or Calm Mind or Roost, any of those things would be very bad for him. And if I was like, well, no, I think he's Unnerved, so it wouldn't matter if I was Shuka, but his play is just stay in and knock me out. So I'm going to go for the Thunderbolt, which is going to do the damage I need it to do to put him in range of Dugtrio, and he's going to knock me out with the Psychic. So a little sloppy there, which cost me my Gliscor, which would have been a little nice for the Haxorus, but alas. So now we're going to go out into Dugtrio, Lizard Boys, the female Dougie, and we're just going to click EQ and knock this thing out. So now we're kind of getting into crunch time, because his Azu scares me, because if he is a Z Belly Drum set, he could potentially set up on my Dugtrio. However, I still have my my Breloom in the back, and he's going to go into Haxorus. So if this is a DD set, I outspeed it, and I can potentially knock him out with the Earthquake. And he does show he's Mold Breaker, actually, so Shuka thing would have worked. Anyways, he's going to show he is Scarfed, like I kind of anticipated, and he's going to go for the Dual Chop, which is going to knock me out. Good tech to be able to deal with Sash Dougie or Sash Shazam. And yeah, down goes my Dugtrio, which is totally fine, because I can go into my Staraptor now and start hitting things with Brave Bird. Now, what I do with Staraptor is I put things in range of Breloom. After a Brave Bird, this thing is easily in range if it doesn't just die. And this Bisharp is going to come in, and after the prior damage it took and rocks, 2 Brave Birds is going to be enough to potentially 2-hit KO it. So the game kind of rides right now on whether or not he clicks Sucker Punch here, and whether or not I can get a potential roll in my favor to take this thing out. So he said after the game that he clicked Pursuit right here as I go for the Brave Bird. Now 100% going into Breloom would have lost me the game, I feel like, because or not 100%, but it's complicated, but it would have put me in a bad spot if he clicked Iron Head right there. So I decided this was going to be my best play. So now it's 2 versus 2, and he brings in a Azumarill, and now the 50-50 comes in. Does he click Play Rough? Does he click Aqua Jet, or does he click Belly Drum? I'm going to go hard in my Breloom, predicting either the Aqua Jet or the Belly Drum. If he clicks Play Rough right here, I lose. However, if I stay in on his Belly Drum, I lose anyhow, because I will not have enough. After my Breloom takes the Aqua Jet, I die to Life Orb Recoil, and I won't have my Staraptor in the back to take out his Haxorus. So he's going to go for the Z Belly Drum as I bring in my Breloom, so I get that play right. Unless he crits me right here, I take this hit and knock him out with Bullet Seed, and then he's going to pull the switch out and go into his Haxorus. Now, even if I get 2 hits here, this thing should be in range of a Mach Punch, unless I get some absolutely terrible rolls in my favor, or he has a lot of defense investment. So we're going to go ahead and hit the Bullet Seed. 3 will pretty much guarantee me the win. 2 makes it a little more stressful. So we get 1, we get 2, and we get 2. So I was a little scared at this point, but he's definitely below 50%, probably around 45 or so. So I was pretty confident Mach Punch would knock it out. I'm going to go for it, and it does knock him out. And that means that we are going to be able to take this game home. And because he switched out, that tells me 100% it's not Sap Sip or Azumarill, which would have been an incredible set to bring against me. And now what I can do is click Bullet Seed and knock this thing out. And what he told me after the game was that he was banking on me going for Spore because he had Sleep Talk on his Haxorus, which I guess was a pretty nifty tech. He also had Sleep Talk on his Azumarill, which I found interesting, even though Spore was pretty unlikely for me to click in this game. And nonetheless, we are going to take this game, and we are going to take it by a score of 2-0 and move on to the Major Pokemon League semifinals. And our opponent is going to be none other than Greg, our favorite gay person on the internet, and a good friend of mine and a very tough battler. He is also 9-3. He has been absolutely on fire since we beat him earlier in the season. And I look forward to a very difficult match. And I definitely believe that the winner of that game can be the one that will win the league in its entirety. So, thoughts about this game. At the end, I had to play it. I made the 50-50 that I needed to in order to win the game. And I was really sweating bullets about that last play, because if he made the prediction, knowing that my Breloom would take a +6 Jet, and he clicked Play Rough with my on the Breloom switch, and he would have definitely won, unless he missed Play Rough, which would have been then hacks. But this game was very, very good. It was definitely a nail-biter, coming all the way down to the end. Play with a third to the last turn, the game decided how the game was going to go. 24 turns of a lot of fun, definitely a good one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought about this game. I thought it was a fantastic one at that. The play with Tapu Koko, where I brought in as my terrain ran out, was really dumb, and I should have paid more attention, so I'll definitely do more of that in the future. But nonetheless, great game. Make sure to go check out Nick. He's a very good battler, and he's a cool dude. And with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all later. Goodbye.